All right, let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another very exciting episode of You've Got to Hear This. We are joined today by a special guest, Mr. Andrew Sprague.
What?
Well, welcome, Andrew.
Hey, thanks.
Hi, Andy.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Great.
How's it going? It's nice to see everyone again.
Tour manager.
Your favorite tour manager?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Beats the hell out of that Australian guy.
Whoa, that's not how we do this. That guy could beat the shit out of me.
Careful.
No, he was nice.
Yes. Andrew Sprague is our Taking Back Sundays tour manager, which you may or may not know, but and apparently Greg's favorite tour manager. And Greg knows a lot of tour managers, so that's really saying something.
Do I?
I
know Andy.
don't know.
There's the Australian, and then there's me.
Yeah,
Two.
It's true.
And I beat the Australian.
I liked imagining that you had a wide network of tour manager friends that you knew, Greg, and Andy is your favorite.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Out of all 12, you're my favorite.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
So,
Thank you. It's very kind.
Yes, happy to have you. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that Andy himself recommended, and I'm excited to dive into it. We're talking about bands that should have been more successful. And I guess for each of us, the band that our favorite band that we think should be more successful.
It was a tricky topic to think about because how do you gauge success?
Yeah.
Is it based off finances? Is it based off like arena size or what show size or how much merchandise you sell? There's so many factors. So it's hard.
I just went on based on merchandise sales. So and I went with Insane Clown Posse.
Or Kiss. Kiss is pretty big too. Kiss sold pinball machines.
Yeah, just action figures. I based mine on action figures.
Yeah, me too. I went based on festivals that also include wrestling. So my pick was also Insane Clown Posse.
I
knew it. I knew you would.
Actually, episode if we all picked ICP.
If it's not ICP, the answer is Twisted. So
they're Twisted.
Twisted.
With a Z?
With a Z.
That was part of the early 2000s misspelling boom. Remember that? Everybody misspelled their name.
They still do, because you get that stupid band Churches.
Chiverches.
Chiverches.
Well, that was another thing though, where you just leave the vowels out, right?
When did vowels become such a pain in the dick that you had to take them out of your name?
It's a good question. That's a good question.
Like, what's wrong with the letter U? Don't make it an upside down V, you stupid asses.
The letter U, look, you know, the letter V is 10 times fucking cooler than the letter U.
My last name.
Everyone knows that.
It's a scientific fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what is it? Looks like
it is backed by science.
What's this?
Hard science.
It's like a little scrotum.
It's a smile. An upside down V is very aggressive looking. It looks angry.
Is
like
it an upside down?
angry.
Wouldn't an upside down V be an A?
No. Oh no. Is it upside down in Churches? I don't know.
I think it's
just a V.
Oh, okay.
Then it's Charches.
Are you supposed to pronounce the name Churches, or is there a different?
It's supposed to be. You call it Chiverches.
Chiverches.
Is that really how you say it?
Scientifically speaking, yes.
No, but what did they consider the pronunciation of their band name to be? Churches?
Chiverches.
Okay.
You roll the R.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hate this band.
Get with it, Mike.
I'm just gonna listen to Animal Collective. Call it a day. I don't need this. I don't need this.
Like,
Mike,
what
you
if
hate
like
Animal Collective.
Like, what if they didn't like vowels? What would their name be called?
Oh gosh.
Isn't Animal Collective based off of Pokemon?
Liminal Collective.
Yeah.
It's tough without when your name starts with a vowel.
Now I know there's a thing with band names where there's a certain number of, I don't know how many exist in the world, but there's more than like 3 or 4, but their band name is secretly just another way to say an orgy. So you have Group Love, that's one of them. Then there's obviously Orgy, but they're not really trying to hide it.
There's Orgy, of course.
But there's a few more. There's a few more, and I can't think of it because I'm blanking now.
What's
Orgy really buried the lead.
Passion Pit, that's 2. Orgy doesn't count again. Orgy's on their own group.
What is Passion Pit insinuating?
Passion Pit is a pit of
passion?
people getting passionate. So that's Passion Pit, Orgy, no, Group Love. And then
I got a good one
there's
from the 80s, 10cc.
Is
They
that
sing
related
that
to
song,
orgy?
I'm not in love. Like, I'm not in love, but don't forget. Yeah, that's the band is 10cc. And 10cc is the amount of semen that comes out of your penis when you
Oh,
ejaculate.
Jesus.
oh god. So that's 3 bands. That's 3
Really?
bands.
Is
Their
that
name
really
is
what that
like
is?
Steely Dan is a dildo.
Mm.
That's true.
that's 4 bands.
That's true? Is that real?
Yeah.
That's
from-
crazy.
Is it from Naked Lunch? It's from a
Naked
William
Lunch,
Burroughs.
yeah.
Minus the Bear is a sexual innuendo band.
Yes.
That's
BJ and
5
the Bear.
bands.
BG and the Bear minus the
BG
Bear.
and the Bear. Yep. That's 5 band names that are based off of sex jokes. It's crazy.
What's the German or like Russian something pussy?
Yeah, but they're not really hiding it. The Nashville.
Pussy Riot.
Oh, yeah, but they're not really. They're kind of in the same camp as Orgy, where it's like they're not really hiding their name. It's just blatant.
What about the fucking Champs? Is that's the name of my orgy? You guys want to come over to the fucking Champs show?
That's the name of your orgy? So it's just like you and LeBron James and Tiger Woods?
No, it's me and Luke Longley. That's for my 90s Bulls fans out there. Who's with me?
Oh, White Snake. White Snake is, I guess.
Is that the penis?
Yep.
Mhm.
Hole
It's
is a butthole.
Hole. What about the Butthole Surfers? What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, the Butt Trumpets. Have you ever seen a butt trumpet album cover? It's literally someone playing a trumpet out of their butt.
I'm really glad you added album cover to the end of that sentence. I thought you were just gonna say, "Have you ever seen a butt trumpet?"
No, that's a real. That's a
no.
real.
It's
That's
just
an
a
It's a
trumpet.
real band. Butt Trumpets are a real band. They're terrible. It's one of the worst bands I've ever heard in my life.
Butt trumpet is the same as a regular trumpet. It's just where you put it.
I just pulled out the top 10 list. Flaming Lips are on there. Didn't even occur.
Oh wow! I didn't think of that.
Is that
A band called Slit.
That's terrible.
Yeah. That's my least favorite word for vagina.
What about
Yeah, that's-
slint with an N though? That's a different.
Is that sexual?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Maybe like-
anymore.
They were like 15 when they started that band, so I'm assuming it was just something childish.
It's like put your arm around your lady and give her the slint.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
man, Greg is quilling.
You are quilling. Greg is
He's cool
is
and so
recovering
hard.
from his second vaccine shot.
Yeah,
And,
get it. Oh,
you-
there's a puppy now.
You are quilling.
Yeah, just got to get some good Vapo Cool,
Oh man.
Vapo Cool NyQuil. Really burns them.
Wiping your mouth on your shirt there.
Here are those.
I've
Gotta
seen your house.
Balance all those humors.
You wipe your hands over anything in your house. It's fine.
The world is my napkin.
All right, well, I mean, I guess maybe
Where
our
were we?
topic should have been sexual band names, but
You covered it.
well,
Yeah.
Andy, do you want to kick us off here?
Ooh, I guess so,
bands
man.
that should have been more successful and didn't have a sexual name, or maybe did. I don't know.
No, they didn't. I thought about it. I'm like,
You had to check your notes.
I didn't. I checked my notes in my head and they didn't. So I picked a band. I feel like when we talked about Greg, when he brought that up to like the concept of what makes a band successful or not, and whether or not it's self-imposed destruction or or just bad luck, which I think the band I picked is a combination of both. And I don't know if anyone knows this band, but it is a band called the Wrens. They're from New Jersey. And they put out 3 albums total. Their last album being 2003, which their first 2 albums fine, good. Third album was the one that really like stuck, and I was like, this is the one for me. And it made me go, this band should be fucking huge, and why aren't they? And so I had to do a little research to find out why in 2003 that they didn't make it big. And let me take a sip of this. Do you guys know the band at all? Does anyone know the band?
I've never heard
They ring a bell. They've come up a
Yeah.
bunch on Spotify for me.
Have
But
they?
I don't have any of their songs saved, so I don't know
So-
if I've heard them.
I feel like that's kind of the thing. Like it'll be recommended by like some people, and then they'll.
Wait, are you at John's house?
What?
Are you at John's house?
No. Why?
John just broke the fourth wall.
No way. You just
What are you
walked into
talking
your.
about? No.
Wait, what just happened?
I thought you, Quillen?
I was talking. Yeah, seriously. Who's on the NyQuil now? Jeez.
John, is
Yeah,
that
you're Quillen. I think your computer glitched. I think that's what it was. Just like that band, We Were Promised Jetpacks. I always forget they exist, and then they come on, and I'm like, holy shit, I love this band. And then I don't save any of their stuff or buy an album like an asshole. And then
Wait, what?
no.
Have you listened to We Were Promised Jetpacks or?
Yeah,
They're
but I
one of
always
my-
forget.
I love them. They're great. They are
I always
great.
forget they exist, and then I'm like reminded, oh my god, like they always come on shuffle or randomly in life at someone's house or whatever, and I'm like, this band's amazing. Who is this? And it's always that fucking band.
It's that same band, yeah. And they keep coming back like that. You know what's fun? We Were Promised Jetpacks was like, it was one of the last shows I saw before the
Wow.
pandemic. And actually that night, there were 2 shows happening in Grand Rapids. 1, We Were Promised Jetpacks at Pyramid Scheme. 2, Refused at Intersection.
Um,
So we ran back and forth between the shows.
Yeah, that's
So
fucking great.
it's like Grand Rapids, like we don't get enough like shit, like good shit comes up, you know, every so often, but like it's always like one day and it's like, okay, 2 great fucking bands playing the same fucking day. Like what? Anyway. Hey John, you left for a second. Where'd you go?
I just needed to go freshen up.
Nice. You look good.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
you guys are a bunch of chuckleheads.
You guys,
So
You guys.
you guys
So-
are some real piece of works. You know that?
so the Wrens, anyway.
Yeah. Sorry.
The year is 2003. It was like, you know, remember the height of like Pitchfork, right? When like Pitchfork, if Pitchfork gave you know, like Arcade Fire had like a 9.8 or whatever, and like Arcade Fire like blew up, and I heard that. That's the Wrens right there.
Well, I was saving some of their songs and I clicked it by accident.
Wow,
That's good.
you were able to call that on just that little bit of a.
Yeah, it's one
That's
of my
love.
it's like one of my favorite albums ever. So that album, The Meadowlands, 2003 came out. Like Pitchfork gave it like a 9.5. The world was their oyster, and it just never happened for them. I don't know, like why or how. And
Did you research at all, like what may have gone wrong?
Yes, I did. And I found out what happened. And it seems mostly self-imposed on them, but like, I don't know if it's like, if it was purposeful, like it was self-imposed, like they were, you know, it's the time in like the 90s, like when if you you know, you like I don't want a major label deal, man. Like that's not cool.
People were still worried about selling out.
Yeah, right. And I don't know if that was their mindset, but so they put 2 records out. I think they were both on Grass Records, which became Wind Up Records, which which Wind Up was signed to like Evanescence, Creed, like, you know, just like the big like rock radio bands.
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And like they just kind of didn't, when they made like the switch to wind up, it just didn't fit into that.
Mhm.
And then for like a short period, they were signed to Drive Through.
Huh.
And then they were like sending him like the Meadowlands stuff on Drive Through, and Drive Through is like, yeah, you're not like the other, like, what are some Drive Through bands?
They were all like pop punk.
It was like pop
I
punk,
mean,
right? Yeah.
back
Yeah.
then, at least.
Right. So like this point, they're like 35 years old, like 35, 36, you know, I don't know. It just didn't work out with Drive Through. But then there was something that like got them like a meeting, or they were gonna get signed by Interscope. And I found this this quote from them, which this probably encapsulates why they never got successful, or never had like the, you know, had anyone back them up as much as they should have. But so they were doing, you know, had the thing like where you like, you've got the song and you bring it to the record label and you play it like for all the A&R or whatever, and the president, they're all sitting at the long table. And so here's a quote from the guy. I don't know which one said this. He goes, so the guy at the label said, "Come to my office, we'll play it on my big system and we'll see what we're working with." And so they wrote this song called "This Boy Is Exhausted," which, if like once you hear it and like read the lyrics and see, like it's like really it's all just about like, it's very self-referential and just about 35-year-old dudes being in a band and playing shows and being like, what the fuck are we doing? And like, what the fuck is it? So he goes, so they come to my office and play on my big system, we'll see. And so they wrote the song, and it was essentially about, fuck you, you're not going to sign us anyway, but you're making us do all this shit in front of you. So he's like, we know that you're not going to sign us, so we're going to write this little fuck you song, and you're going to listen to it, and we're going to watch you listen to it. And he goes, I must tell you, it was a beautiful moment to be in a band, sitting in the big crystal office, listening to the music pump out and watching this guy. And then at the end, he said, fuck you, I don't like you guys either.
Wow.
I get it, man. I get it. Like, was that joke worth it though? Was that joke really worth it?
He told
Yeah, the
that
most
like 10 years
devoted
ago.
joke. It's the most devoted to comedy
It's
anyone
not
could
that
ever
funny.
be.
I feel like it's like, wouldn't it be funny if we went into this big record exec's office and trolled him? But where are they now? Why did I don't get it.
Where they are now, they're probably still happy.
I do get it. There are some bands, like we had a local band that literally 20 kids started singing along, and then they broke up because of it. And then they just only made recordings, and they handed them out on blank CDs to their friends, because they don't, people treat art differently. Their backgrounds with art is it can be anything when you have a group of people, you know, and it's like, to some people it's so personal that they don't want anyone singing along, and to others it's just a product. And then there's the middle, and then there's so many different variations of it. And I don't know, I really don't, I can't shit on a band for being that way. I've never been that way with my music or any of my projects, but I understand it. But I understand also people getting confused by it as well. But it's because it's really personal, and they don't want some fucking guy they don't know or some kids they don't know singing something that to them means like, you don't know who I am, you don't know where I'm coming from. So I understand it.
So I don't think it was like a pretentious thing though with them. It was like, we're going into this situation, and this is like, we know that you're not going to sign us. Like this is like, we're wasting all of our time together.
Oh, God.
And the song ended up on the record. Like, it's still a good song. It's not like they just wrote the song. It's just like a fuck you. The song's on the record, and it's a great fucking song. So I keep swearing.
That's fine. We swear on this
podcast. We got the E tag.
All right, cool. Just keep beeping that. But yeah, like it wasn't like it wasn't like an artsy way of like, this product is definitely like, you know, like you can't sell this to the masses. I think they probably wanted to have success. And if you listen to like all the lyrics, because that was the other thing, like I didn't really know the lyrics until like this last week when I sat down and like read them. I was just like singing things along with it. Like, I don't know, whatever he said there. But then like reading all the lyrics out, then going like, oh man, there's really like, there's some like when I said it was like all self-referential, like a lot of it is just like them talking about themselves and using their own names and saying each other and talking about like they're like, and it's all just about like, you know, just being like 35, being in a band and like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? For example, to start one of their songs called "Everyone Choose Sides." The first group of lines, I guess it's the first. I don't know. It's not like a chorus. The intro, I don't know, whatever. Has one of my favorite lines that I think in my head all the time because I also agree with it. So it goes, 13 grand a year in the Meadowlands, bored and rural poor at 35. I am the best 17-year-old ever.
That's pretty awesome.
That's great.
That's pretty awesome.
So I think like literally like even last night I was like, man, I am the best 17-year-old ever at 42.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I don't think
That's
it's like
really cool.
I don't think it's a thing
like
about like so like with success, like you know, like they didn't get like that level of success, you know, of you know, huge shows and like huge major label deal, but I don't think they're mad about it. I think they're like, hey, you know, that's life, man. Fuck it.
Well, I think that's something we may run into with every single band we talk about here is
Mhm.
that I tend to think that a lot of the bands we're going to talk about were not aiming for huge mainstream success,
Right.
but they had the potential for it. Like if they wanted it, they could have had it, but most likely they didn't really want it. So it's
Deep down, they didn't want it.
yeah,
Like it was like they were playing the game. Well, it's funny too, like going back to their website then. So apparently they have another record that might or maybe have been done and finished since 2012, but it's still not out yet.
sitting on the shelf somewhere.
But if you go to their website, it just says the Wrens keeping people waiting since 1989. So they're very in on. They know like what they are, and they don't also want to like change anything either. It's like no one can leave the band, and no one can replace anyone in the band. I forget where they refer to themselves. It's not like I think they might have called themselves like a cult of some kind that like you just can't leave. Like once you're in, like you have to stay, and they're not going to do anything.
Oh, like the Hotel California. Kind of like the Hotel California.
Just like it.
You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave.
I'm pretty sure that's how like the Bloods and Crips work. You get in, like you get beat up to be in, and then you can't get out. And yeah, that's pretty scary. It must be really rough to be in the Rams.
Yeah, all four of those. I think they're all brother. They're all related somehow too. Like
they really can't get out.
Two of them are brothers, and like something.
I'm gonna
like
listen
that.
to them tomorrow.
You should, and you should listen to the Meadowlands, like that record front to back. Just it's incredible, and it was even named like, and it was like critically like lauded like across the world. I think like Q magazine named it like the album of the year. I don't know if it's Q or one of the British, maybe Mojo, it was named album of the year, and it still just didn't like turn into anything. I don't know what. I don't know if there's any real reason. They might have shot themselves in the foot, but
hey, they're happy. So
yeah, no, I think they are, but they're like happy.
Happiest 17-year-olds ever.
Yeah, they're happy in their misery, which really just lines up with my life anyway. Like I'm like, you know, like if you find like the happiness in the mundane, like, and I think they do that. It's not like trying to be, bigger and important than anything. It's just like, man, fucking here we are. This is pretty cool. How do we make this sound cooler? How do we make working a $13,000 a year job sound cooler?
Rural 13,000.
Yeah.
Rural 13,000.
Rural poor. 13,000 a year in the Meadowlands is probably not going to get you too far either.
Oh man,
you're not getting a night in Manhattan on that.
No, not yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe Jersey City. Maybe Jersey City.
Maybe.
I don't know who said about a band being successful and then self-destructing, I think it was Andy a couple minutes ago. But that was a good segue for my band.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'll go with Self-Destructing. Not that they self-destructed, but I think they decided to be like, you know what, we're not. This isn't for me. And they're from Ruston, Louisiana, and they were in the late '90s. They have 2 albums.
Is it Pantera?
No.
Shit.
Very close. Very, very, very close. It's Neutral Milk Hotel.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, pretty much the same.
And
Very similar.
similar story, like they they both sing death metal. No, Jeff Mangum, whatever you want to call it.
Mangum. Mangum.
That's a great sexually innuendo band name.
Both
Mangum.
versions are sexual. Mangum and Magnum are
Yeah.
also.
They are very true.
I don't know if you guys know about Magnums, but I do.
Oh, why?
Oh, Google it.
I just keep seeing ice cream bars from Dove. No, but
It's like GoldenEye N64. Go.
Jeff Mangum, they gained a little success, and I guess he just had like a nervous breakdown about it and was like, you know what, we're done, and then just went into hiding like for a very long time. But they achieved such a cult status after that success happened, but not because they wanted it to. It just happened because more and more people were listening to their music, and word got out like, hey, check out this band, they're really great. The dude plays a freaking saw.
Yeah. I saw that and it was unfreaking believable.
Yeah, like I saw them with John and Camille too, down in Athens. He played Neighborhood Theater a while ago. I saw him at Bonnaroo, the whole band and all that. I mean, they're very good. I just don't understand why they never, like, would they have gotten.
I've seen them play a big show up in New England. I think we saw them in Rhode Island or Connecticut, and it was huge. But I don't think it's like that across the whole country.
They kind of Parks and Rec referenced them quite a bit because it was Aubrey Plaza's character's favorite band.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
really
no
fun.
way.
Yeah.
Were you gonna bring them to the Neutral Milk Hotel? Some like jealousy thing. It was
Was that the line? Was that the line? That's really funny.
There's something about that, like someone cheating on someone else and bringing them to the Neutral Milk Hotel, like
Well,
this real place.
I think she also said if she cheated on him, like that was like her hall pass was like Jeff Mangum. Jeff's Mangum.
Mangum.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, they did great.
Okay, all right.
They did like they came back probably in like 11 or 12, I guess, 2011 or 12. And
that was like when we saw them in Savannah, right? Like 2012 maybe or 11.
Athens, Georgia.
Or Athens, right? Not Savannah. Sorry, Athens. Yeah, that's
and
right.
then I saw him a bunch of times after that. Like he kept, maybe they just needed money, and they're like, let's go on the road and we'll get all this money, which I'm sure they did. But the elusiveness of him is pretty interesting as well. Like he could just go wherever
he's the Sid Barrett of 90s indie rock.
Yeah. Except he came back though. He didn't just disappear completely like Sid Barrett.
Right.
But I think that Sid Barrett never came back, right?
No, not in the band. No. But he showed up like in the studio once, like, and they didn't know it was him. He just like walked in.
I remember reading that story.
And I think Roger Waters ran into him at a grocery store. I'm not kidding. It's a real story. It's a real story. They didn't say hello though.
I would pay so much money to see footage of Roger Waters running into Sid Barrett at a grocery store. That would be the most amazing thing to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. I was like, someone had to be there and saw that and was just like, you're not going to believe what just happened. First off, just saw Roger Waters at Marks and Spencer. Fuck, that's crazy. But hang on. Not done with the story.
But going back to Neutral Milk Hotel, one of the things about them which you touched on it, Greg, but it's like part of what made them as successful as they are, which you can judge that level of success however you like, but it was the legend that built up around them, because they just disappeared. They put out 2 amazing albums and then just disappeared. And then they, like in the place of that, people started coming up with all these wild ideas about the band and what was going on with the singer, and and that was, I think, a lot of what made them who they are. And so that's an odd thing too, whereas like, what if they put out another album after Airplane Over the Sea, and then another album, just like any normal band kept going? Like, what would have happened? Would they have been as big? Like, I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, I like
I
to
hope
think
they never do
about, like,
put out another album. That would be. I don't think it would be good.
Yeah.
I think they would lose all. It would.
Well, the expectations are so
high
through the roof at this point. I don't know what they could do.
The bassist and saw player has a band. I remember I put it in the group chat, and you guys were like, "I like it up until this." It was like really circusy and really weird. The music tapes, I really like them, but it's something I have to listen to at a very specific time. It's definitely not as easy to listen to as Neutral Milk Hotel. But yeah, he went and produced a bunch of bands. I know that in between or after, and that's what he does now. But that was the first, that album was the first that I heard of, and maybe it's not true. I heard this in high school. I haven't fact checked it since then. So how reliable can it be? That they recorded that record in a shed. And I remember being in high school thinking that was like the coolest fucking thing ever. And then you look up bands that have done things like that. There's probably hundreds who just like lived in this shed and recorded this album in a shed and still made it sound good. But that was the mythology for me that hooked me in. And then it was the lyrics. All of his, as someone who writes songs, he is the master of ing words that end in ing. This is the master of it. I've never seen a songwriter pick specific descriptive words of like action words better than he does.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Everything's swirling and he just picks these very specific words, and it's just like, it's almost like a really scary Dr. Seuss. Like he does something that a lot of songwriters can't do, and it's definitely got a very distinct fingerprint, and that's what I love about them the most.
What was that? Yeah. Also on this on that record, it's one of my favorite. Like, I love little, like, I don't know if it's like, I call it like a studio mistake that they just keep in the song. Mm-hmm. But there's the one song, and I forget which song. I'm trying to look it up, but it's the one where, like, after he's like carrying this like note thing, like part of the song, and you just hear someone in the background just go, "Okay, oh fuck," like. It's really low, like in the mix, but they kept it in there. It's just like someone just going, they're just like, fuck. Like,
I bet it's that Jesus Christ song.
Yes, no, yeah. I think it's just Jesus.
Yeah, that's the song he like holds the note in.
Yeah, and it's like at the end, you hear it, it's very low in the mix, but you get to hear it and just say.
There's one song where I found the meaning of, it's a song's called Garden Head. Mm-hmm. And it's just this weird dude that would like hang out around them or be in their neighborhood, and they were just like really weirded out by this guy, so they just wrote a song about him. They call it Garden Head, and I just love that. I love that so much because I want to meet this guy. And does he know this song exists? Definitely not. He has no idea.
That's like that's their version of Spoon Man.
Yeah, he's just so creepy. This like creepy dude that was in their neighborhood or whatever. They're just like, this dude's getting a song.
Putting his head in the garden all the time, fucking freak.
I assume there's like a window guard, and this dude would just like come up to it and be like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" Like, that's the image I have in my head. But
there's a good lyric. Semen stains the mountaintops, which is always, it's more immature and funny.
But it's like a pretty song.
Yeah,
semen stains the mountaintops. Semen stains the mountain.
There's a lot of Beatles influence in this band. They almost take the Beatles. Like, I feel like Sgt. Pepper's era of the Beatles, and then they mix it with what they call, like, their genre, they call it, I think they call it fuzz punk, which is a pretty well descriptive, you know, because they take their like Northwest punk, fuzzy, crunchy as hell, like indie rock, and you can hear the Beatles influence in there, pretty strong. But yeah, I love them so much. I wish there was more. I wish there was more albums. I wish that he didn't, you know, go through that. And I think they would have been just as strong. I really do. I don't think there would have been a loss of creativity. I think people ruined it by liking them too much. I think people should have just chilled out, not liked them enough, let them write a couple more records, and then jump on the bandwagon. That would have been great.
Yeah, that's why I hate Parks and Rec. I'm like, you guys fucked this up first, man.
Even more, yeah.
Don't bring more attention to him.
No, that's my band. How did you like? I was, you know, it's very a very specific moment in my life when someone showed me Neutral Milk Hotel, because that was, you know, the time when, you know, you had to buy an album to find out. But I was in college, and this buddy of mine, he was just kind of just one of the funniest dudes in the world, very good writer, just and
yeah, I remember that time when I introduced you to Neutral Milk Hotel.
No. I didn't say a muscly man. All right, it was. But he, this kid was just like, he was like this. He's like, I've never had this like album like speak to me, blah blah. This is like, you know, when you're just, you know, meet all these new people in school, and they're a bunch of fucking weirdos, and they're all like, it's like every day was like a different band. And I remember being at my buddy's apartment, and he was like, you got to listen to this, and yeah, it was like. All right, sorry. He said, you gotta hear this. And
you gotta hear that.
Oh,
thank you.
And I went,
we get a small royalty every time you say that. So thank you.
He goes, you gotta hear this. And I did. But it was just such a moment in my life, you know, like 22 years ago, that was just like, you know, very specific. Did you have like the same thing? Like, how did you find out about it, Greg?
I basically just heard them on like Sirius XM, like way back.
Yeah, that wasn't a thing back then. All right.
No, I know.
It was.
I know. In like 08, 07 maybe. Then
so was it like when it came out? It was like way past the time.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was already the mystery around him. I think the first song I heard was Holland 1945. I was like, well, this song rips.
You know, whenever I'm in Holland, I listen to that song and walk around the streets.
Yeah.
Like, no joke, I'm not kidding. I do it.
Whenever I find myself in Holland.
So that's the first song I heard. That's the first song I heard from them too. I was a freshman in high school, and I was in Spanish class, and someone that showed me Radiohead for the first time showed me Neutral Milk on a Walkman, like a Discman or whatever. And I remember being really into like metal bands and Jedi Mind Tricks, and, you know, a lot of angry, like heavy, dark lyrics, like a lot about themes about death. And I remember listening to Holland 1945, and the first line is, "The only girl I've ever loved was born with roses in her eyes, but then they buried her alive." And I remember hearing that and being like, that is the heaviest first line of a song I've ever heard in my fucking life. And the image I had in my head when I heard those lyrics blew me the fuck away. And that's what hooked me. That was the first song, and I was like, this is the heaviest shit ever, but it's not heavy, but it is, and I love it.
It's metal. It's pretty metal.
Yeah.
It's so metal. It's so metal. I think it's really rare when a band's first line of a song is like one of the best lines. And I don't even think they do it on purpose, but like that's usually the line you'd save for like the bridge, you know what I mean? Like that really crazy line that's like takes the whole thing to a new level. And when you start a song like that, game over.
Yeah, I prefer when you start a song with like to hit you in the fucking throat.
Like that's the line, dude.
I want to cry at the first word I hear.
What? Take it.
There's so much going on in the lyrics, like riding a comet's flame, circus wheel, bullets flying. I know a lot of the songs were like love letters to Anne Frank. That's what I've heard. But but it's just
Wait, the Anne Frank? The Anne
Anne
Frank?
Frank. Yeah, he read a book.
No, it was a different Anne Frank from Patterson, New Jersey.
Yes.
She
No,
worked
that's
at
the one I was talking
She
about.
worked at the
No, not the one I
7-Eleven.
was talking about.
Okay,
Who did
you
you
know
think?
Anne
Who
from
did you
Patterson?
think? Who did you think I was referring to?
At
Is there
first I
another?
thought
Is
maybe
there
you
another
talked-
Anne Frank?
Yeah, I mean,
One I used to hide a lot. Great at hide and go seek.
No, I
there
don't
was
know.
no. You're
No,
not
Also-
familiar with the one who
we don't
hid
go
from
there,
the
Greg.
Nazis.
Also, the last line is also the heaviest line of the song. He says, "It's so sad to see the world agree that they rather see their faces filled with flies. All when I want to keep white roses in their eyes." So he even takes like the heaviest line at the beginning and then wraps it up at the end, and then he just leaves you with this like, oh man, like what do I do with my life? Like this is a band you can't listen to when you're just like having fun with friends. Like you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a band where
I
it's
do though.
catchy.
That's what. That's how me and my bros used to hang out with that record.
It's an emotional fucking roller coaster for sure.
I find comfort in all the sadness with my bros.
And before I depart on my dialogue, I was hoping that Andy would have picked Elbow. But
Elbow.
Elbow holds a special place in my. There's a lot of bands I would have picked. I've got a list of bands that
I'm sure you got me into Elbow because you kept talking about it. I was like, well, let me check this Elbow out. And they're really great.
Since you're talking about a list of bands, can I go next? Because I had to really struggle to pick one with this one. And I made a playlist on my Spotify of bands I wish were bigger. Ones that didn't make it, that didn't make my pick. I talk about them sometimes, but Algernon Cadwallader, Rival Schools, Big Star, Renee Hartfelt. Renee Hartfelt's unbelievable.
I love Renee Hartfelt. You just
they're so small. They're such a small band. They were
really?
Moving
There's
Mountains.
Rival Schools too, man. That's a great
Yeah.
pick.
I feel like you could just say Walter Schreifels and then
Yeah,
just
almost anything
that cover
he's
the
done.
gambit of Walter Schreifels.
Moving Mountains. We used to play shows with this band called Moving Mountains, and they built their own like light boxes, and they built some of their own pedals, and they were just amazing, and stayed a small band. They sounded so big and just so clean. And Furthest Seems Forever, but Dashboard, obviously, because Dashboard, Furthest Seems Forever took a kind of the back seat. Audio Karate was amazing. And my favorite hardcore band that's really small from Boston, The Suicide File. That's my favorite band of that genre of like melodic hardcore. It's called Fuck You Hardcore. Like the type is just really ridiculously angry punk music. And those are the ones that didn't make it. But my pick is Cursive. Cursive is such a good band. If you don't listen to Cursive and you're listening to this podcast, it's kind of a mix. I think they're a mix of Fugazi, Modest Mouse, Arches for Loaf, and the Smiths, kind of like a big mix of that. But there's just so many iconic parts in so many of their songs, and their song structures are pretty all over the place. I think they're more straightforward now, but earlier Cursive records, it's almost like a play that's going on, and each member, or maybe a combination of members, it will be like ridiculously iconic moment, and then that part will go away and it won't come back, and then it's just like these characters appearing on stage and disappearing. And that's like my favorite aspect of the band. First record, Such Blinding Stars for Starving Eyes, is great. I love 8 out of the 11 tracks. Second record, I don't really like that much. I feel like it's just not as memorable.
Which one was it?
What was the second record?
The Storms of Early
Okay.
Summer, Semantics of Song.
Okay,
I think it was
yeah.
a production thing. I don't know what it is, but that one doesn't have a lot that jump out to me. But then you have Domestica, which is insanely good.
That's the one, man.
Oh, I think it's the one. I think it's tied though. I love Ugly Organ just as much, but
Oh yeah, that's true.
yeah, but and I love Happy Hollow. That's the album that people kind of turned on them for. It's got a lot of horn sections, and I don't think it was expected. But this is a band, Tim Kasher and the other members of this band. I know there's some revolving members and stuff, but these are real artists. These are musicians that aren't trying to capitalize every record. They're just putting out genuinely what they feel is the best foot forward. And that's what hurt them. That's what hurts them as a band of getting bigger, because they're in love with music so much that they're genuinely putting out the best stuff they can. And that's what I love about this band. And yeah, just talked about Domestica. Guitar tones are insane. The riffs are incredibly intricate, a lot of iconic parts. It reminds me of Fugazi, some of the best parts of Fugazi and Superchunk and Arches for Loaf. It's very heavy. A lot of harmonics going on, guitar harmonics. I've seen Cursive live. Well, I've seen Tim Kasher playing Cursive songs probably about 5 or 6 times, but I've only seen Cursive live maybe twice or 3 times. And I don't know his name, but the older guitarist that's, when you're looking at the stage from the audience, who's on the right, steals the whole show. He's unbelievable musician, one of the best guitarists I've ever seen live. They're funky as hell. They're heavy in a haunting way. Their storytelling is, you can only get it from Cursive. Like I always say, like a home recipe, you're only going to get these type of lyrics from him. Or maybe you'll get a little bit from Bright Eyes, which got a lot bigger than Cursive. I like more Cursive songs than I like Bright Eyes songs, but that's because it hit me at the right time. But the lyrics are, I guess, similar to Nutrimilk Hotel. They're very circusy, dark, strange. I don't know, I can give you a few instances of lyrics that I really love from them. The song by them, The Recluse, he says, "My ego is like my stomach. It keeps shitting what I feed it."
That's awesome.
And I love that he has this like tongue in cheek, like funny lines. Like he lets you know that it's fictional stories. He's pouring his heart out harder than anyone you've ever seen. And then he always keeps the crowd laughing when you see this band.
I'm not sure if they are fictional though either.
Some of them are. In interviews, he says they're fictional stories. He does state it, but
well, I think of like album of the year, like what was his that little solo side project?
The Good Life.
The Good Life, yeah, like that seems more like almost like autobiographical, and I don't know if it actually is, but
he has a line that's literally like, "The first time that I met her, I was throwing up in a ladies' room stall," and you're just like, dude, you just wrote my favorite fucking song right there. Really? Like that's the first line.
Yeah, which also is like seems like a real thing. Like there's definitely the first time I met someone was throwing up in a ladies' room stall.
And he just, it's so good. And I know their biggest, one of their biggest like accomplishments was, I think they toured, or I know they played a show with The Cure, and they may have toured with The Cure.
That was the Cure. They did like the state. It wasn't a stadium tour. What was it called? Like Thursday was on it. Cursive. Interpol.
Wow.
It was and it failed. Like it was a spectacular, terrible failure of a tour, but it was one of the best. Like go to like an amphitheater, see a show like on the side stage as out back is like it like the lineup like top to bottom was great, but just didn't like fit. That was probably like 2004, 2005, something like that.
But yeah, it's just like they're so good. It's been, I think it's the equivalent of like, and I know like it's arguable, like Modest Mouse has had a very strong line of records, like very consistent band, where Cursive has a lot of great records, but they have records that some of their fans didn't like latch onto, like Modest Mouse did. But the Cursive at their best, I like just as much as Modest Mouse, and I feel like they bring just as much to the table.
Yeah.
Some of the new Cursive songs are incredible, and I don't think they get enough attention. And I think that like The Ugly Organ and Domestica will be their biggest records. But yeah, they're just one of my favorite bands of all time, and I'm always just so amazed that. And I really like when I know, like my friends that listened to them when I was in high school, when they stopped, I guess they didn't really turn on them, but they definitely didn't stay on the bandwagon, was because of Happy Hollow. And you listen to Happy Hollow and it's amazing. It's such a good record. It's a play. It is a play. I'll
have to go back to that.
Teleportation is real. So you guys are across from each other at a table?
No.
Hold on, Mike. I'll be right there.
Now, you know what's funny? There's actually a lyric that I took up from the Ren's record, which I thought was funny because Cursive was on my list of bands that I was like, should have been more successful that I would have talked about. There's a lyric, and I don't know the top of it, but he gets a Black Jetty rock splitter shot, Saddle Creek stars. I miss them a lot. So it's like the Saddle Creek connection with the Wrens. There's a
Person
connection
did break up for like a year. They did break up for a year.
It might have been around 2003 when Wrens wrote that song, and then they also missed Tim Kasher and Connor Oberst. So those are the. Let's name the Saddle Creek stars. All right, go. 1, Connor Oberst. 2, Tim Kasher. 3,
Rilo Kiley.
Rilo Kiley. What's her name? Jennifer Lewis. Jenny Lewis.
Jenny Lewis.
Jenny. She goes by Jenny.
Jennifer Lewis is on the show Blackish. Jenny Lewis was on Saddle Creek.
Okay.
That's how I remember that.
Another great lyric by them, and it reminds me of Piebald has a lyric that says,
another one that probably.
Oh yeah. Piebald should have been one, and I'm surprised I didn't pick them because they're from like 2 towns over from where I grew up. But Piebald has the lyric that's like, I almost made the third verse the same as the first, getting dumber as I get older. And I thought that was cool. Like, you break the fourth wall. You're like talking about how you were gonna just keep the same thing, and then you didn't. But you actually didn't really write it technically because you're just talking about writing it, and you're kind of a jerk for doing that. And then Cursive has a line that's, I love this. It's when a band loves music so much, or a writer loves music so much that they're shitting on other bands. So he's sarcastically saying this line. He goes, "Oh, a second verse will color me fatigued. I'm hiding in the leaves in the CD jacket sleeves." And I just love bands that just shit on other bands. Like, wow, you're so good. You wrote a second verse. Good for you, man. Like, I feel like. Go ahead.
The best Cursive lyric is, "Oh, Cursive is so cool."
That's a lyric. That's a Cursive lyric.
Yeah.
I think it might be in that song.
It's on the, it might be in that song.
No,
it might be in parentheses.
Yeah, it is. It's like him saying
it is in this song. Holy shit. Holy shit, I'm having a moment.
We talked about it last night, actually. Great.
Yeah. About immerse yourself in rejection, regurgitate some sorry tale about a boy who sells his love affairs. You gotta fake the pain. You gotta make it sting. You're gonna break along when you get off stage and they scream your name. Oh, Cursive is so cool. That's just weird. That just makes it feel weird. Like, that just, I feel like, and I know that these are fictional songs, and he's actually seems like a very like happy person in interviews. But I feel like to write songs this ridiculous and this amazing and this playwriting and so many lyrics about being drunk or fucked up in the songs, I feel like they have to be authentic. I feel like the person who wrote this had to have been going through some real shit to write The Ugly Organ and Domestica. It just feels so authentic that I can't take him as fiction.
From what I understand, like, Domestica was written about his divorce.
Yep.
So I think that was an extremely personal album for him, and Ugly Organ kind of covers a lot more territory, but
you guys know what an ugly organ is, right?
You're gonna tell us.
It's a penis.
Oh no.
I thought it was his heart.
You leaned into that line. You really leaned into that punchline.
I did. That was a Simpsons,
the Sammy voice.
Don't worry, it's not what you think it is. It's a penis. It's from The Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But to wrap it up for me,
I'll send you
Cursive is a 10 out of 10 band. All their new songs, there's so many great new songs. I don't feel like they get as much attention because they weren't on this trajectory like some bigger bands were. But he's a lyricist and a songwriter I'm going to be listening to until I'm old and gray. And I'm just so thankful that he's doing music. Just a fucking great band.
Love you, Tim Kasher.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Came out.
Sprague out.
Where's Greg? Is Greg all coiled out?
Wait,
I would have
actually-
loved if you would have hit
Is he
like an
dead?
ejection, like a done like this, and your seat would have shot out, like rocketed it out of the screen. That would have been awesome. I guess we don't have that technology yet.
Not yet. We're working on a budget.
I've got the
though.
green screen behind me.
Yeah, that's how we did that trick earlier.
It's a trick.
hmm It's just it was camera tricks.
Camera tricks.
You have a
Deep
hologram. You have a John Nolan hologram.
Deep
Yeah.
fake. I've got mirrors and
It's all that.
perfect.
Can I go next?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna go last. I'm under
Shut it
the.
down.
I'm hoping that everybody will tune out before I go, so you can go ahead and go.
Mike, are you not confident in your pick? What's the matter?
I'm having it. This is so funny you say that. I'm having a visceral reaction throughout this entire show. And it's taking me back to elementary school to group presentation day, where I feel like I am seeing everyone else go, and I don't feel like I did the assignment right. I know I'm gonna fail. So yeah,
No.
you go ahead and go, and then I'll go last.
All right.
Mike's pick is Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Look, they're big, but shouldn't they be bigger?
My pick was Ludwig von Beethoven.
Like Taylor Swift.
No, it was Ludwig von Beethoven. No,
He
go
could
ahead,
have been
John. You go.
bigger.
You go.
He's underrated. He's
John
underrated.
Williams. John D'Souza. My pick was John D'Souza.
The Beats.
Francis
March's,
Scott
man.
Key. I actually went with Francis Scott Key.
Yeah. Favorite anthem writer.
My pick was Pledge of Allegiance.
I like the original one before they did the remix when they added God in it. Before that, it was better.
Those were the
All right.
days.
All right, sorry, John. Go.
All right.
Philip Sousa.
Philip Sousa. Sure, he got the sousaphone named after him, but was that enough? I don't know.
Do we need a horn that low?
Do we need a
Probably not.
sousaphone? I don't know about that either. But my actual choice for this, after thinking about really just a couple of bands, I settled in very quickly on Built to Spill.
I love
Nice.
Built to Spill.
That was my second choice for you. I was like, John's gonna say one of two bands:
What was your first choice?
Archers of Loaf, and then
Yeah.
Built to
So
Spill.
good.
So Archers of Loaf, I did think about, but I guess I feel a little bit like I kind of understand why Archers of Loaf weren't more successful. Like, I love them, and I think everyone should love them, but they're not that accessible, I guess. You know, they're
Right.
even at their most accessible, they're still a little rough around the edges. And
Except for Web in Front, that is accessible to everyone.
yeah, that's their one song I think everyone could agree on. But then they also, aside from that, Archers of Loaf, kind of in their last album, took that like weird 90-degree turn, and that album's really good too. But it's also, like, it's just, I would say, I look at what they did and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that
Right.
they weren't more successful.
Yeah, it should have
So,
fizzled.
but-
I get it.
Yeah, but Built to Spill was the one that I settled on, because like when I look at their discography, they don't have any misses, and aside from that, they have like, so their first album I'm not that familiar with, but it was also sort of like at the time the band was forming, and it wasn't even necessarily the people that were going to be in the band. And the first album that I really came into contact with was There's Nothing Wrong with Love, which I think was their second album. But to me, that was like where they became a fully realized band. And that album is perfect, pretty much, in my opinion.
Perfect from then on.
Yeah, and then they have Perfect From Now On, they followed it up with. And that one is perfect, in my opinion, as well. But a lot of like long jams. They have a lot of like 8-minute songs and stuff. So
Yeah.
that one I can see a little bit, but they also have some tight, pretty poppy songs that I feel like, people could have got into. But then the kicker is then after that, they followed up with Keep It Like a Secret, which is just, I feel like blends everything that they did as a band up until that point perfectly. And they, they have their kind of jammy guitar stuff happening. They have their tight poppy songs happening. They have it figured out. And I feel like that should have been a breakthrough album for the band. And I guess it kind of was to some extent, but that's also the time period, I think, where Modest Mouse is becoming like a legitimately huge band. And I think that is part of it, is that they Built to Spill and Modest Mouse, I feel like kind of were coming up together in similar scenes.
And Flaming Lips too.
Yeah. And I guess Flaming Lips took a little, well, they had their like breakout in the early 2000s, and they had to kind of come back from.
Well, they had the one hit in '92.
Yeah.
But they were both, well, the reason I was bringing up Flaming Lips with Built to Spill is because they were both on Warner at the time.
Right.
I think it was Warner. But it was like, Warner was like signing these like, indie artists and being like, make them big. And that was when like, Modest Mouse was hitting, and then Flaming Lips was hitting, but it was like on a major label, but still cool and still had like the cred back then.
Yeah.
And then Built to Spill put out their first like Warner record, which was incredible. And then it just didn't catch, but still it was still great. Like everyone loved it.
Yeah. And that's, I guess the thing is, I don't really know why it didn't take off for them. Like everything seemed to be in place. They put out like one of their best albums at the time when like people were paying the most attention to that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not really sure why it didn't totally take off. And then even after that, like they never put out a bad album. I feel like after that, they kind of became a little bit like Pearl Jam to me, where they became this band where what they do and they do it well every time they put out an album.
Yeah. A Built to Spill song when you hear it, like it's very distinct.
Yeah, but then
it's always
also
good.
they're
It's
not
never
gonna
bad.
like. Yeah, but also that like it's like if you're into it, you're into it, but they're not probably winning over a lot of people every time they put out an album. They're just sort of like maintaining this fan base that that they have. But that's my number one thing. And even looking them up and trying to figure out what happened, I don't really know. Like I can't really find anything. They don't have a lot of drama surrounding their band.
It's just Doug now, really, right?
Yeah, at this point, the band is just the singer and guitar player. And
I just call him Doug.
Yeah, you're on a first name basis with him.
In Dougie. I saw a show with him, so I know him, Doug.
Yeah.
So I think it's like one of those right place, right time things. And I think sometimes the stars align and sometimes they don't. And it's a snowball downhill, but in a good way for bands that blow up. And it's just the right things are going on, the right headspace with the general public of the general listeners of the genre. And that's probably what it was. I know like one of my favorite rappers of all time, Big L, didn't blow up at all, but it was because of Biggie. Biggie got so big and Big L pretty much disappeared under the shadow of Notorious B.I.G. And maybe that happened with this band with the others.
Maybe the Modest Mouse thing was part of that, is like they overshadowed it. I don't know.
There could only be one Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of Highlanders. You're thinking of Highlanders.
I mean, Built to Spill, their band, I used to call it Idaho guitar rock. I didn't know any other bands in the genre of Idaho guitar rock, but Built to Spill was the only band in Idaho guitar rock.
Yeah.
Name a band from Idaho.
Built to Spill.
Built to Spill. That's all.
That's it. That's the only band from Idaho.
There's never been another band from Idaho.
Oh wait, Slipknot is Iowa, right?
Yeah,
It's Iowa, yeah.
Jesus. Just because it starts with an I?
What?
Oh, Larry Bird
How
is
dare
from
you, sir?
Idaho too. Every state
but
that starts with an I, it's the same. Jesus, John.
Another band that Parks and Rec just popped in my head that they shout out a bunch of Letters to Cleo.
I love Letters to Cleo.
That's all
Maybe
I
they
got.
should be on this list too. I don't know. Well, Mike, I think it's up to you now. I think
All
it's up
right.
to you
Bring
to
us
present
home,
your.
Mike, baby.
This is
present
great,
your,
man.
your
Do
failing.
you know what this reminds me of? I don't know if you guys ever did this in like middle school or elementary school. I do this at my job today, to this day, where you didn't do the assignment and you're hoping that everybody goes long and the meeting will cut off, and then you won't have
You've got to do your presentation.
You
We
go
can't cut
tomorrow.
off before you do yours.
I know.
I'm
Did
gonna
you get
review
it
your
wrong?
presentation now, Mike.
I've listened to all you guys
grade
talk.
you.
I had to go first. I've never been on here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, what do you think I felt like? And then we had a gag where John was going to walk by me. And so I had that in my head. Like, look what I'm working with.
Yeah.
I don't
You're
have
in
to
your
set up a
comfort
green
zone.
screen.
Mike, I'm gonna grade
Sorry,
your
Mike.
report. I'm gonna grade your report
Yeah.
now.
I don't
Just
have
Joe,
any
Joe,
gimmicks.
shake your head no,
Yeah.
like anytime he's no.
John walking by you in the background was the equivalent of putting your book report in one of those plastic folders to make it look more professional, even though it was probably bullshit.
It was covering up for I lost my train of thought the whole time.
Yours is
so.
really good. Yours is really good. But I listened to all you guys talk, and I think I did the assignment wrong. So I was just trying to think of a band that I liked that I thought should have been bigger.
Pearl
And so
Jam.
my instinct was, which is kind of what you guys said.
Led
So
Zeppelin.
it's kind of the same thing. So it's kind of the same thing. But my instinct was, the first instinct I naturally had was City and Color. And then which is Dallas Green, the singer, not the screamer from Alexis on Fire.
Whose first name is a city and his last name is a color.
You got it.
Get
You
it?
got it. And then
Finally, and not sex related.
I know. But then
Honestly, I never put that together.
Look, Joe
and
just
Wait, are you
said it. I saw
serious?
Joe's face.
I'm so upset with myself that I didn't put together that like Dallas Green, like City and Color. I get it, but that's why his
Yes.
band name is City and Color. I'm
Yep.
so upset with myself. Because I
It
just
was
didn't
good.
look into it. I never looked into his band name. I like his
Yeah.
band. I like his music. I like his voice, but I never like thought to go out of my way to look up what it meant.
It's
Yeah.
genius.
How great is that, though?
It's
Yeah,
great.
I know. It's genius. I can't believe someone as smart as yourself never picked up on that. And someone as dumb as myself picked up on it before you did.
I'm gonna go back and watch to see Joe's face. Like Joe had the O face. He
Yeah,
was
let's rewind that. Let's rewind that back.
like,
So my first pick was City and Color, but then I saw that he apparently has a platinum album, that's very successful. So then my next pick was going to be a band called Dragonette from Canada, who did a special guest appearance on our first You Got to Hear This episode. Oh wait, no, it was they were one of the bands that we talked about on You Got to Hear This with the song called Fire in Your New Shoes. But then I found out, yeah, which is a fantastic song.
I remember that.
But then I found out they had a song on the show Gossip Girl, and if that's not successful, I don't know what is.
Modest Mouse performed on the OC. So.
Oh, really? Really? I had a
thought it was
girlfriend
Death Cab.
for a guy on
Death
the
Cab,
OC.
maybe.
So I guess
I know
Or maybe it was.
Death Cab-
It might have been One Tree Hill too. I don't know.
I know Death Cab was on the OC. I didn't know Modest Mouse was.
Modest Mouse was on one of them.
Tell us.
that's awesome. So then I went down and I thought about this band. So I went with I don't know if you guys are familiar with the band called the Japandroids.
Oh,
Yeah.
great pick.
Who I really enjoy, but that's not my pick. And so then
What?
Wait, no, hold on. That was gonna be my pick. That was my pick. That was my pick.
Man,
And so
alright.
then I was gonna go with
don't let us down.
So I'm gonna let you down per usual. So then I was gonna go with an English band called White Lies, and then I was gonna go with Lucero. These are all fantastic picks, but
Yeah.
I wanted to go with a pick that was near and dear to my heart. So I decided to go with a guy. And again, the reason I'm saying I think I failed this project is because I think he might be more successful than I think he is. But I decided to go with a guy named Tim Berry, who do any of you guys know a guy named Tim Berry?
The guy from Avail.
Yes.
Yep.
No, I've never heard of Avail, so I don't know how successful Avail is. I only know Tim Berry as a solo artist. So I apologize if Avail is a very popular punk band that I am not familiar with. But Tim Berry was introduced to me in 2011. He came out with an album called 28th and Stonewall, which I've emphasized on this show over and over and over. I am a huge, huge fan of Southern colloquialisms. And Tim Berry is fantastic he's just a Southern guy. He's a guy from Richmond, Virginia, and he's writing songs about what it it's like to live in Richmond, Virginia, but he's not doing it with any pretense or kind of like, I forgot which one of you guys, I think it was Andrew that said, they were like, fuck it, I'm not trying to sell you my album. Like, I don't think he's writing songs with any intention of selling any of them. He's just writing songs about what he knows, and he's nailing it. And he's saying things in his lyrics that I got a lot of shit for mentioning a few episodes ago when we were talking about best lyricists. And I brought up Anthony Kiedis, who I didn't imply was my favorite lyricist, but he's so good at nailing down Los Angeles colloquialisms. And Tim Barry.
He's from Grand Rapids too, which is really fucked up.
Who is Anthony Kiedis?
Anthony Kiedis, yeah.
No way.
I'm gonna rewind this episode
Joe.
to watch that over again.
Joe,
wow,
check it.
this has been such a mind-blowing episode. But yeah, so Tim Barry, man, he's just like really nails down what it's like to live in the South, and he says things that Southern people say. And but not only that, like he says things that I've got a lot of friends who are significantly older than me who grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina, and they just have phrases that they say or things that they talk about just having lived here all their lives. But when you listen to Tim Barry albums, or when I do, I pick up on things that they're saying in terms of phrases that they use just in their normal conversation that wouldn't make it into a song if you were a songwriter concerned with selling albums. It's like I'm hanging out with an old friend. It's fantastic. But the definitive song, if you're going to get into Tim Barry, if you're looking for an entry point, it's called Downtown VCU. And it's about a kid who is a freshman in college, and he doesn't really quite get what's going on. And I've been at this exact point that he's talking about. So I'm just going to read some of the lyrics here. So he's talking about, he goes to this bar and he goes, he met this girl, and she's got shoulder length brown hair and an accent I found very rare. 1 part country, 1 part urban thug. Total Fox. But that's such a real accent here in the South. 1 part country, 1 part urban thug. Totally real here. So then he goes, new to the neighborhood, I'm clearly lacking friends, just adding to the mess of white ball caps and red keg cups. Like, that's what going to the college in the South is white ball caps.
Yeah.
And red keg cups. I mean, that's all it is. So then she comes up to him. I'm not going to read the lyrics, but the story of the song, she comes up to him and she goes, are you a real man or are you a college student? He's like, oh gosh, I'm a college student. So the girl walks away, and so he goes, if I had taken my old man's advice, so his dad says, I should have listened to my dad when he said, work with your hands, not your head, and your billfold would stay full and you wouldn't be paying out debt. So he goes, so man, the purpose of this song is to go ahead and pass my father's wisdom along. And that's another Southern colloquialism, like to go ahead and pass my father's wisdom along. Go on and callus up those hands, learn some knots and turn a wrench, because in 4 years, there won't be any jobs left. So if I would have taken my old man's advice, I'm not great at reading. If I would have taken my old man's advice.
So he took his old man's advice and started a punk band.
Yeah, well, no, that's what he says. If I would have taken my old man's advice, I might be laid up in the bed beside that fox tonight. Instead, my mouth tastes like jello shooters and I'm lurking here on this darn computer. Man, that's all I got. Good night.
He just rhymed jello shooters with computer.
I love it. Oh, it's such a good one.
And again, but just like, man, that's all I got. Like, that's all I got is such a Southern colloquialism. And it's something I always say, but I picked up from just people that I've met down here. But yeah, he really nails what it's like.
You know, I do want to talk to Tim about one thing, though. I want Tim to know that he made the right choice by doing what he wanted to do and not listening to his dad. Because, yeah, he might be in the bed with that fox because of whatever, filling his billfold, doing what's right, but he's not going to be fucking happy. He's not fucking happy doing that. He's fucking miserable.
So miserable, and he's not writing funny songs like this.
Yeah, and he wouldn't write. He would.
He's not rhyming jello shooters with darn computers.
He would have not rhymed
genius.
Shooters and computers.
And that takes me back to one of the other picks I almost had was Lucero. Are you guys familiar with the song called
drunkest I've ever been in this show?
My favorite Lucero song.
And you didn't even
time.
drink. You just walked in the room.
You just watched them. No, they were. I saw them in Texas. We saw Lucero as it was a tattoo convention. It was like a Jim Beam, like I think it was basically a whiskey tattoo, get a free tattoo show. And Lucero was on stage and they were so drunk and everyone was drunk. Everyone was just hammered. And I met the Lizard Man, the famous tattooed man who's like
Jim Morrison?
completely like tattooed, like
No,
all
I think
body.
that guy,
And I was just hammered.
His last name, we have the same last name. I think his name's Eric Sprague.
He was really nice, but it was very interesting being really drunk in a completely different part of the country, talking to this man, half lizard, and seeing Lucero for the first time. It was a night I'll never forget for sure.
Lizard Man notwithstanding, I want to get to that in a second. My favorite Lucero song is a song called Joining the Army, which is a minute 30. It's a minute 30. And it's got similar themes to what Andrew said. Told you I was joining the army. Had no excuse. And the whole song is about how his grandfather was in the army and Lucero didn't go into the army. Instead, he decided to write songs on his guitar. And he's so guilty about how his grandfather is such a better man than he is, which I think is great. It's such a great catharsis in a minute 30. It's amazing. It's amazing. If you guys have a minute and 30 seconds of your life, I recommend taking it out and listening to Joining the Army by Lucero.
I think that is a thing though. People, if your grandfather was in World War II, like mine was, both of mine were, like there is that thought that is just permeates inside you of like, man, I'm never gonna be the man my grandfathers were.
Exactly.
Like, I couldn't have fucking done that shit.
Yeah, my uncle Mike was in World War II, and he like recently turned 100, and I'm just like, I'm never gonna. And he's so on Easter, one of the last, I think it was the last Easter that I lived in Massachusetts. Family was kind of talking about like Trump and stuff, and he just like stood up and he started ranting about how he hates Trump and stuff and this and that, because there's some good, like some family members of mine, like good amount of family members that loved him or whatever. And it was just so badass. I was just like on the couch watching this, like he was in his 90s at the time, but this World War II veteran just like politically trying to shut down everyone in the family. And he's just so old. He got into the wrong car after Easter. He got into the wrong family car.
But he knows what to stand up for, though.
Just such a badass. He's just such a larger than life personality. Like I can't believe. So yeah, I understand. Sorry to go on my rant, but
no, that's great. How cool of a song idea is that, though? Like a guy who's playing music and trying to make his grandfather proud and knowing that he can't do it. I mean, that's a great idea for a song. And to cover it as well as he does in a minute 30 is so fast. Man, I should have picked Lucero, but
change your pick.
Yeah, you had like 8 other
Tim
picks.
Berry, man. I love Tim Berry. But my only thing about Tim Berry is I don't know who I love him so much, but I don't think he has what it takes to go mainstream. I think he's
he doesn't have the goods, man.
No.
None of us said that. None of us said that about our artists.
Yeah, I think he just resonates with a certain geographical demographic. Like, if you're from Boston, I don't know if you're going to get downtown VCU or 28th and Stonewall.
We all get Virginia Commonwealth University.
I mean, my mouth has definitely tasted like jello shooters while lurking
on my computer.
We can all relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just keep going back to what Anthony Kiedis's songs would have been like if he grew up in Michigan.
If he stayed there. Yeah.
Would they not do the avocado instead?
All his
rhymes
references
would have been more challenging. I mean, he could wish again.
Yeah.
Michigan.
What rhymes with Ann Arbor?
Grand Rapids-ication is not as good as Californication. The bridges downtown in Grand Rapids.
Take an oil pan, I'm gonna make a pizza. Like trying to think of like Detroit pizza where they take like that pan that like, you know, like he would just be talking about taking automotive parts and then making Italian food with them.
But that's East Side. That's East Side Michigan. So if he's West Side, it's a different thing. It's all Dutch and boring.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, windmills and wooden shoes.
Yeah,
So he wouldn't he wouldn't be trying to convince everybody that somehow Michigan has great pizza.
Yeah, it would just be Little Caesar's pizza.
The pizza.
Pizza, pizza, that's my song. Pizza,
Pizza.
Pizza.
And he's just shitting on this alternate universe version of him. Most of his songs that aren't about Michigan are about him saying that California is not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah,
Shitting on California.
Yeah,
no, I love the idea of all of his songs are still all about California, but just how much he hates it.
No, he's never been. It's about how he's been, but they're all fictional songs, but he's never actually been. Everyone's a surfer. Gonna put French fries in our burritos. Like,
it's a good burrito though.
Just stupid
Good
shit.
burrito.